Hi, I'm Jill Brasch. I'm the author of this book, The Last Gifts, Creative Ways to Be with the Dying. I wrote this book because I feel like in our society, there aren't many places to learn how to be with someone who is dying. And I know that people don't go to see the dying because they're afraid they won't know what to say or they won't know how to act. It's very uncomfortable. I am an occupational therapist. I worked in a hospice for 9 years, directly with the dying. I led an art class for AIDS patients for 3 years, and I led a bereavement support group for 6 years. And out of those experiences came the material for this book, The Last Gifts. And this book is really about stories. It's about people that I worked with. People who are dying aren't doing so much thinking, they're feeling. And in hospice, their needs and wants and desires may change every week, every day, every hour, or every minute. And so it's important to remain open and vulnerable, to be with them and be able to really hear their needs at that moment and then help them meet their needs. So what I really got to do was help people live as fully as possible, as long as possible, until they died. It was the best job in the world. People think this work is depressing, but for me it wasn't. It was rich and clear and passionate, because when you're in the moment, that's what life is. And people that are dying are in the moment because that's all they have. It's really all any of us have. Now, in our world of multitasking, it's difficult to be in the moment. Eckhart Tolle calls it the power of now. And he recommends that if you don't do anything to be in that moment, like meditation or prayer, that you just be aware of one breath a day. One breath. Being an occupational therapist, I used activities to work with people. And out of these activities came deep conversations. They seemed to be a byproduct of the activities. And many of the activities that I did were to help people say goodbye to their loved ones. Symbolic gifts that they made to say goodbye. Sometimes people just need a hobby or something that can help them deal with pain all day. They can't go bowling anymore or do the more active things that they used to do, and so sometimes they just need something else to do, and that would be something that I would help them with, or something that you could help them with. So I worked with a man named Tom, and he was an excellent woodworker. He had made most of the furniture in his house, and it was beautiful. And at this point in his life, he couldn't lift more than 10 pounds. And all he wanted to do was get back in his shop. He had a full shop in his garage. So I asked him if there was anyone he wanted to make a gift for. And he said no, that he'd already made a gift for everyone that he knew, and he couldn't work up to his standards anymore. And then I asked him if he'd considered smaller projects, and he said no, he didn't really want to make birdhouses. That was too demeaning. And so we talked for a while, and he asked the most perfect question. He said, "What do you do with your other patients?" And so I said, well, some of them exercise to keep up their strength. Some of them need hobbies. What do they do in the hobbies? Well, they crochet or they paint wooden projects. That's another thing they do. And he said, really? What do the wooden projects look like? And so I went out to my car and I brought in a couple of hat racks, and I'd paid, I think, $7.99 for them. And he said that he could make them for about $1 if I could just bring him some lumber. And then he had an idea. There was a cabinet shop off the highway where I got off to come to his house. And he said, why don't you stop by there and tell them what we're trying to do, and I bet they'll give you some scraps. Now, over the 9 months that I worked with Tom, he made over 400 projects for other patients, and other patients were so grateful when they were given his projects to work on. So with Tom, you can see how easy this was. Really, I just showed up with scraps of lumber. That's all I did. I just showed up. So I put the story of Tom in this book and many other stories that I hope will help you. I wish I could give you a recipe and say that with this diagnosis or in this certain situation, this is how it works. But that's not the way it works. For it to really be successful, it requires that you be in the moment. And another word for that is creativity. So that the creativity can flow between the two of you. That's the way it works. It was my sacred privilege to be with these people at the ends of their lives. It's as rich and clear as a moment can be to know that you've helped someone at the end of his life.